Joining me now is history lecturer and author Stephen Shavura and Sky News contributor Evelyn Rae. Happy New Year to you both. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening. We've got to start with these racially charged fireworks. Evelyn, every year it's the same thing. What is the agenda here in your view?
Look, I think it's just straight up pure virtue signalling, and we see it across the spectrum in so many different ways, and this is absolutely no different. It's empty, it's void. I think that probably majority of people participating in this are probably just doing it because it makes them feel good on the outside, but like you mentioned earlier with what you were saying on the show, I'm not sure there are many tangible, practical things that a lot of these people are doing in their real life to make a difference where it matters. But what this is doing is having the complete opposite effect, because they have overdone it so much that people are sick of it. You can't even open a can of Coke. You can't even go to a football match. You can't even let your kids go to school and have an assembly without having this stuff shoved down your throat. People just want to enjoy life. People want children to be children. And it's planting these ideas and forcing these ideas that are really having an effect on our culture in this country.
I completely agree. And then the other problem is I feel like we've become so used to it now that we just sit there, we politely listen to the welcome to countries, we sit there as the fireworks display, the carry on, and it's because nobody is pushing back. And I think it is really incumbent on corporations and organisations to say, no, enough is enough, Stephen. Why do you think we're constantly being pummeled with racially charged fireworks and the rest that comes with it?
Well, a lot of it comes from the ABC and local governments, and they are just obsessed with this kind of thing. They're completely out of touch with what the average Australian thinks. And I think it's a great opportunity for Peter Dutton, who I think is actually going to win the next election, to show leadership on this particular issue, in the same way that John Howard in the 1990s showed leadership by doing his best to revitalise the Anzac tradition and emphasise what Australians have in common. And Howard used to say things like that he was uncomfortable with the term multiculturalism. And Peter Dutton can do the same thing. He can re-emphasise, we are one people, we have one flag, and he can actually attack and discredit a lot of this divisive wokeism, which does nothing good for Australia and certainly does nothing good for Indigenous Australians. Now, he will fall foul of the mainstream media and the ABC and the academics, but Australians in general will love it.
Absolutely. And in the end, it's not like the ABC is representing Australians anymore, clearly, based on last night's effort and then the previous years. Now, let's move on, because Woolworths will be apparently proudly celebrating Australia Day after its decision to ditch celebratory merchandise such as flags and thongs last year. So Woolies is apparently going to once again make room for paraphernalia, as well as heavily advertise the event to shoppers as they walk through the doors. Evelyn, has corporate Australia learned its lesson?
I'd love to be able to say, yes, I think that they have, but sadly, I really don't. I think that they listen to money more than they listen to anything else. And I think that we've seen this with the whole rainbow capitalism. It was once cool to, fly the rainbow flags, at any chance that you could get. We're seeing it now with climate things. We're seeing that it's cool for big corporations to say that they're going to start loading up their beef with all of these different products to lower methane emissions. And so I think what they're going to do is latch onto whatever's cool, whatever's popular, whatever they think is going to get them lots of money. So at the moment, there's a really big push against this woke political agenda, particularly when it comes around the Australia Day debate. So I think they're listening to people right now, because if they don't, they're going to lose a lot of money that would normally line their pockets. I mean, Kmart did something similar at the beginning of the year, but they actually stood staunch in it and said, well, we don't make money off it anyway. I feel like that's a very different discussion, but there are so many obvious and blatant attempts to force this in people's throats, and I think that they've finally listened to the people, but who knows, in 6 or 12 months' time, whatever's popular, I feel like they're just going to jump ship. So people need to keep talking and keep speaking with their money and with their wallets, and hopefully eventually turn the tide.
Look, I agree, and I do think it's all got to do with money because you remember Peter Dutton called for a boycott of Woolworths when this all happened last year, and I know a lot of people who still refuse to shop at Woolworths for this particular reason. Stephen, you know, Woolworths says, OK, we're going to now proudly celebrate Australia Day, but it really is only because of the backlash they received. Is that right?
I think that's absolutely correct, but at least they've listened. But I also think that Sky News should pat itself on the back a little bit, maybe even a lot, because I think that the backlash was largely created by Sky pointing this out. And I think, in actual fact, this is an example of people power. So it does mean that actually people power can work. And of course, there was a financial incentive to this. But at the end of the day, Woolworths have backed off. I would actually like to see us talking more about Australia Month. That is the whole of January being Australia Month from the 1st of January, because we must remember today is Federation Day. It's the 1st of January. This is when our colonies officially became a single Commonwealth nation. So this is a fantastic day. And we want to carry Australia Month from January the 1st to its high point to the 26th of January when the first fleet arrived.
Look, I think that's a fair point, and we should be very proud to celebrate that as well. And that's one of the points I made earlier. We can't feel bad about being proud Australians. So I think that's a good point. Now, have a look at this, because the Aged Care Minister, Annika Wells, her press conference today was interrupted when one of her staffers realised that the MP was not standing in front of the Australian, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags. Have a look at this.
Sorry, can we just pause there? I'll just put the flags in front, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Oops. It's even literally a photo of what it's supposed to do.
Oh.
Look at that. Well, look, it's just us.
How's that, mate?
You can't see the Torres Strait Islander, just bring it in to the left a bit and bring the Australian one a tiny bit closer to you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Well,
Yep.
okay. All right, all ready?
Yes, we've got to get it right. We've got to get those centimetres right. All three flags have to be there standing proud. Evelyn, look, all the fuss here. I don't know about you, but I only support one of those flags, and that's the Australian.
Absolutely. And we all should only support one flag, because that one flag represents all Australians. It's the flag where every single Australian citizen can stand under in unity without this division. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of these small groups within Australia constantly warring against each other of who, you know, has the biggest social injustice. You know, one flag, one people, one nation. We all stand under it together. And what a beautiful thing. And I'll tell you what, I feel like somebody in that room is going to get sacked after that debacle. That was one of the most cringeworthy moments I've seen this year, and we've only started. So, goodness help us as the year progresses.
Even just sitting watching this, I was cringing, Stephen, just sitting watching how they were fussing over these three flags. And this is a thing because they're so worried that they're going to offend somebody.
Exactly. And now we've got two Indigenous flags. I mean, three flags for one nation. It just doesn't make any sense. It looks silly. Why isn't the Australian flag even in the middle? It should be the centre flag. I mean, one flag is enough. Now, I used to sort of say, oh, we can have all three flags. But over the years, I've really changed my mind. And I think a message needs to be sent to a lot of these activists and these professional dividers of Australia that we're not going to stand for it anymore. Australians love their flag. We only need one flag. There should only be one flag in these meetings. Again, another good move by Peter Dutton, because that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to just have the Australian flag. And again, Aussies are going to love that.
I absolutely agree. I think that Peter Dutton, good on him for taking a stand and just coming out so boldly, because that's what we need, some bold policies. We've run out of time. Evelyn Rae, Stephen Shavura, good to have you both on. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening.